from Michael Anderson and then Greg Storch. So stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Michael Anderson, one of the founders of Grow Buffalo Business. We are a business resource center that started during the pandemic to try to make a difference and help business owners during a difficult time, and it's just turned into so much more. I really believe in the heart of community leadership and that it starts with collaboration, community, working together, and just doing what you can to, help one another grow and take those next steps. And I'd like you to join me in the VIP room to learn more about Grow Buffalo Business, how we're making a difference and changing the world through our heart for community leadership. I look forward to connecting with you and seeing what we can do to help and continuing to make a difference. Thank you.
Our next everyday leader is Greg Storch. Greg is the owner of Lion Enterprise, LLC, a leadership development and coaching business, and founder of a worldwide barter coaching program known as the Helping Hand. He's a retired naval officer whose 30 years of leadership experience spans the military, federal, and private sectors. Greg currently lives in northern Italy, where he coaches U.S. military men and women to successfully transition from active duty back to civilian life. He was selected as the 2021 Volunteer of the Year Award for the United States Army, Garrison, Italy, and is a 2-time recipient of the President's Volunteer Service Award, Silver and Gold. Please help me welcome a true servant of the heart, everyday leader, Greg Storch. Oh, my heart is so full that you're here from Italy. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh my gosh, is it Monday yet over there?
Just about.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Okay, you guys, here's a story. Greg and I go way back. We had a coaching program with Diane Dick and Dennis LaRue and Misael Diaz. So you've heard from some of those today. I was in a project with Greg and he sent me this little lion. He sent me with this little lion when we did on consistency. And I keep this on my microphone, but it was falling off today. So I put it right here. But when you see this represents the relationship that I have with Greg, because Lion Enterprise, and it gives me courage to do the things that I never thought possible. One of those things is today, right? I do this all the time. Yet putting a summit like this together is extremely exciting. It takes tons of energy, tons of people, resources. And I love these people that are here sharing their hearts with you. And I love every one of you in these seats on Zoom for being here, because this is powerful. You guys absorbing all of this information and then the application. So get a little lion in your life and get the courage to do the things that you know you need to do. So Greg, man, you, first of all, community leadership, we're going into this peer coaching conversation. We've talked about, having the interest to do something versus the commitment. And you are a servant leader. You're in Italy. Tell us a little bit about your background and now that you're in Italy, what's going on and what's your vision for this community leadership?
Yeah, my wife and I moved to Italy about 3.5 years ago as a result of her getting a job over here. I follow her around the world now that I've retired from the Navy. I've been retired from the Navy about, just almost 13 years. And I've been doing my own thing, and Sam, my wife's been following me around. So when she had the opportunity to have this job over here in Italy, I threw it all up in the air and I was like, let's go. And what happened was I originally found myself in a position where I just wanted to give back to the military community. So I started to volunteer at a nonprofit called the USO, which is in Vicenza, Italy. And probably in over about 2 years, I invested almost 1,200 hours volunteering for that organization. And what I found out was a lot of leadership lessons in that environment because, as you can imagine, when you're volunteering, people don't have to follow you. They're there on a voluntary basis. But, well, maybe not surprising, I emerged as a leader within the volunteer community. And you read in my bio that I was the volunteer for the entire Army base last year, volunteer of the year. I was actually volunteer for the year for the USO as well that previous year. So I learned a lot, and I think that's what we're going to talk about today is those leadership lessons and how do you thrive in an environment where you're all trying to accomplish a mission, but followers don't need to lead. I mean, don't need to follow the leader. So it was a trick and one I had to learn really fast. So I want to share some tips with you on that.
Well, we've got a lot of people on here, Greg, that are watching today that are involved in community organizations. And that's why I really, Michael Anderson, they put together Grow Buffalo Business as a nonprofit already they just opened in June through the pandemic, right? And they have, I don't know, 2,000 people in their group now that are serving their community. And yet it was just a thought that, hey, there's a gap, right? We looked at something and saw that there was a gap or a need. And also, we have people on here that are running nonprofits that are saying, what do we do through the pandemic? How do we get people to show up and lead from their experience and from their level of service instead of one person, right? It doesn't always have to be the top of the organization to make it all happen. It's the community. And that's what I want us to really, give some advice and tips to today that how can we be involved as volunteers to make a bigger impact?
Absolutely. And I that's the key. I mean, you said the magic word and the magic word is community. We all just want to belong at the end of the day. We want to belong to something, and finding your place within a community is where you start. So naturally, when I found myself in a foreign country, I was yearning to find my place in a community. And I found that volunteering. I was surrounded by, as a retired military guy, I was surrounded by these active duty soldiers. And so finding that place, your community, what are you passionate about doing and where can you give your time? Today, more than ever, it's so important that we re-identify with our communities because, as you know, COVID has isolated us. It has stopped us from becoming a community. We're wearing masks and all of these things have gotten in our way of what we feel is the normal way of socializing with people. But it doesn't have to be that way. And one of the ways you can overcome it, maybe there's some issues. Maybe you lost your job because of COVID. Maybe you took COVID to reinvent yourself. Now's a great time to volunteer your time at nonprofits or other organizations where you feel passionate about supporting those people and giving back to the community.
Mm-hmm. And so how do we find that though? Some people will say, okay, I see a long list of places that, everybody needs something, right? You can just go around your corner and say, there's the Salvation Army, there's a Goodwill. There is, there's a lot of nonprofits that just like Grow Buffalo Business, they evolved as a nonprofit. And so it doesn't have to look, I guess the thing is, it doesn't have to look official to be able to give.
Yeah. You start with your passion. Listen, everybody can use help. You can go anywhere and lend a helping hand. That's just one piece of it. The other piece of it is satisfying your own passion, because when we work in our passion zone, we give everything we've got, right? We bring it to the next level. So yeah, I could go volunteer my time, maybe feeding homeless people and serving meals, which we do. But I'm passionate about giving back to the military community. So that's where I went because I felt like I would be more effective. So my advice is to just get introspective of your passion and think about what it is you're good at. How can you contribute? How can you give back to your community without recognition, without pay, just for the love of other people and the passion you have to give to others? I think that's the only prerequisite for volunteering is a passion for others, adding value to other people.
Ugh,
And that's where it all begins.
that is so true. I've seen people and I've heard so many stories through the pandemic of things that have just been so heart-centered. People have stepped in and started things for people that they've seen in need. And it just, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to look formal, right? It's just identifying, being aware of things in your community that need to take place and seeing how do you add value to that. And because amazing things can start from it. And you yourself started something amazing. You have started something to help people that needed to identify, to get better at something, to practice something. And when we talk about bartering, give and get, yet how much value that you have been able to create and establish for people around the world because of this process. Everybody wants to be a coach today, right? But what do you coach on? Just like what do you volunteer with until you really know what your gifts, what you're gifted in, what you care about. So how did you talk to us about the Helping Hand coaching program?
Yeah, this is a really great story because this is one of those stories, and I know many of you watching might relate to this, where it's that thing that just comes out of nowhere that grows into something you never imagined. So when I graduated from my own professional coaching program back in 2017, I was concerned about myself, actually, how I was going to maintain my coaching skills and become better at coaching and build my confidence as a coach. And so I gathered about 26 other coaches and we started bartering our coaching services because we were trying to figure out a way we could collect hours so we could certify with the ICF, the International Coach Federation. And so I developed this coaching circle with about 26 coaches, and Coach A was coaching Coach B, and they would coach each other back. So we were trading coaching for coaching, but bartering is really just what you said, Mel. It's the trading of any service really for another service. We chose to coach each other. So here we are, 26 coaches doing this. And about 6 months into it, I went from 26 coaches to about 100 coaches. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, there might be a need here. And 2 years into it, I was at 500 coaches. And to date, we're in our 4th year. Next year, we're going to going into our 5th year. We've had over 1,000 coaches come through the Helping Hand. They're not only new coaches who are gaining confidence in their coaching skills in a environment that is safe and encouraging, but they're also now maintaining their credentials with the ICF because the Helping Hand last year became a CCE provider for coaches to maintain their credentials. So now we're not only serving new coach communities to help build their paid coaching hours and gain confidence, but now once they do that and they start taking on their own clients, they have a way to maintain their credential. So we are in, 42 states and 24 countries around the world, hundreds of coaches. I'm pairing people up all the time. And it's just been simply amazing to create and be the owner of this community where you're serving a need. I love it.
Wow. My gosh. See, the thing is, what you created isn't something that you really understood how it was going to change and change you through the process. Right? Yeah.
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 Absolutely. I had no business plan. I had no plans for this thing to grow. I really wanted to help people become a better coach or the best coach that they could be. And the only way I knew how to serve was with what I had. And so I gave what I had. And, Gary said it wonderfully in his keynote, and I wrote it down. And we all know this, but you can't pour from an empty cup. I love that saying. So, out of my own need, I was able to pour into others' cups. And that's why a 26 coach program grew into hundreds, around almost 1,000 around the world, because I was able to pour into other people's cups. So it was awesome.
Here's what you just said made me really think too is sometimes when you have a question in your heart, would it make a difference if I did something? And sometimes you just have to take that one action step to realize, wow, there were a lot of other people that were looking for the same result, but they didn't know how to do it. And so Michelle Jones says this all the time on our Bible study. Your ability to step into something that you believe is the answer to someone else's concern or problem. And you can solve that. You've been gifted with that. And so doing that one thing, it may look scary. It may, you may not have it all figured out, but if you just take that one step and put the right resources together and just make it small at first, right? And then let it organically just happen and don't worry about the process. It will absolutely change the outcomes for so many more. The impact that you're leaving, this legacy that you're leaving now for other people, giving them the permission and the opportunity to be involved in something that never existed before.
Yeah. No, that's exactly true. And it's what she said is so true. And fear always stops us from doing that one thing. But Mel, you and I've always talked about this. What if you did?
What if you did?
We always want to talk ourselves right out of doing something. Oh, I could never do that. If I told myself that, I would not be living here in Italy right now, right? I'd be still sitting back in Virginia doing the commute into DC every day. So, you just, instead of I could never, you got to ask yourself, what if I did? And that's step one.
That's a great name for a book for you, Greg.
Yeah, that's weird. What if you did?
What if you did? That is a great question for you in the audience right now, right? What is the one thing that you could say, what if I did do that? What if I gave time, treasure, talent? If you have money through COVID, if you are able to even give $10, $5, $100 to an organization to see the impact that could make. If you volunteer, that is worth 10 times your money. 10 times your money. So I want to encourage you in your book, if you have your journals out, Greg's questions in your journal. And also we put the poll here. Anza, thank you so much. And by the way, Greg, thank you for introducing me to Anza.
You're welcome.
Another connection, right?
Everybody needs an Anza in their life.
Everybody needs an Anza. This has been amazing because of Anza, but I didn't know her, right? This is how this happens, guys. This is the inner circle that happens. But we talk about scaling 1 to 10. How do you rank your heart to serve others? And we talked about with Meredith, putting a 10 on your own head, like put a 10 on your own head and think, what does that look like if I'm serving, if I'm volunteering? What are the gifts that I could give? Maybe an hour a week. Could I mentor someone? Could I drive someone to an appointment? Could I pick up medications for someone in my community? Could I go grocery shopping? Like, there's so much stuff that you could do if you just wrote it down and think about the value that you have. Like Steve said, right? Steve Gielda, talk about value creation. What can I do in my neighborhood that somebody needs, that maybe their kids live away with COVID? Like, you could rake their leaves or shovel their snow, whatever. Like, get outside. You don't have to stay locked in. But volunteering starts with so many ways from your heart. And so I want to encourage you, go to your VIP books if you have them. If you haven't, you can still download those. Anza's got everything in the chat here on your links. So you can get those and then reflect on the ways that you can be a leader in your community, a volunteer leader. Remember, time is so valuable. When you give your time to someone, be present. I have to work on this all the time. Put your phone away. I know. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Jerry. I am the worst because I'm a connector. Yet it is so valuable. If you're going to volunteer, even if you're showing up at the dinner table, like, be present, because you can learn so much more about what people actually need help with. So, gosh, lessons from Meredith, lessons from John, lessons from Gary, lessons from Greg. Is it sinking in?
I love that you said that, Mel, being present, because listen, we can all just show up and donate our time. And we have volunteers at the center that just show up. But if you're going to show up, bring it, bring your talents and make a difference while you're there volunteering. That is exactly how I was able to become the volunteer of the year. It's because I would shine at where I was volunteering. And I did it because when I was volunteering at the center, I was present and I was making a difference. I was doing things they needed to be done and didn't have the bandwidth to do. So step up and show up. And that's how you elevate yourself as a volunteer who's actually adding value to the organization and being present.
Okay. So Jen Garrett said, show up, suit up, and move the ball.
Right.
Boom. There you go. We kicked it off with that.
Sometimes the other people are so much more eloquent. I need all the help I can get.
There you go. It's what you have to do. Oh my gosh. Well, Greg, before it gets to be Monday, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. And we appreciate you being in this lineup today to talk to us about how important volunteer in the community is. And you guys, if you're in VIP, we're gonna go there here after just a couple more speakers. And so we're almost there. But if you have questions for Greg, right, on your journals, write down your question for Greg. You can connect to him. All of his links are right there. He's got an amazing series that he's been working on that is pre-recorded, all of these lessons about leadership from the Lion's Den. These resources are just, I mean, if you're a leader in an organization and you want to give them to your teams, it's amazing content. And so every single thing that he's done, he's recorded. He's just a pro at this. And he really believes, again, you know him in his heart now. So I encourage you to go there and follow Greg, and don't be afraid to roar. Don't be afraid to roar in your own life. Get the courage, right? Roar. Roar. Thank you, Greg.
That's right.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm going to jump into the VIP. I'm going to stay up. I'm going to roll into Monday and I'm going to show up in that VIP room and I'm going to be ready.
All right.
So let's do this.
All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. Thank you, Greg. You guys take the poll. Have a great afternoon. Greg, we'll see you in the VIP room. Next, we are going to go straight to a community leader here in Indianapolis. We're going to hear a message from her and pass the torch for women. And we'll be right back then with Tracy Morrow on marriage and family. You guys get your journals out. This is amazing.